And scene.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That was good
Was
chat.
that all right?
Yeah, it was great. How was that for you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was all right. I'm a bit disappointed about one thing I said.
Yeah.
I said I meant to say detriment, and I said to my something else beginning with D. And so now I'm like, oh God.
We can just cut the sentence out if it's not that exciting. Just cut a bit out.
That was about free agent.
Oh,
But never
right.
mind. It is what it is. You get words. I'm quite surprised. I have the old racing thoughts. Have the old auditory processing thing. So if someone talks at me, I'm like, huh. I can't. If someone gives me directions verbally, I'm like, no. And that's one of the reasons I like doing what I do. As a freelance admin, because a
Yeah.
lot of it for me is email, so I can read the instructions.
Yeah.
If someone's talking to me on the phone, I'm writing it down. Like right.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my first kind of admin-y job when I left catering was in it's inbound sales.
Oh, okay.
And so
full on.
it was basically like customer service, kind of answer the phone. Typey answer phone was how I used to describe it to the people who I was at my next job. And they were like, so what did you do? I was like, type on the computer and answer the phone. That was pretty much it. But when we had this system and it worked off postcodes, so you had to, whatever answer the phone, however you answer it, and then, you want to place an order? That's fine. Can you just give me your postcode and I grab your account? And so when I first started, and postcodes are only like 2 letters, 1 to 2 numbers, and then 1 number and then 2 letters. Mm-hmm. I could remember them. They'd be like, DE43AH. That's county council offices, I think. Again, not fact checked. But that's because a lot of the schools in Derbyshire used to have to put it as their invoicing address because it was based on the invoice address, not the delivery address. But that was for all the POs. But yeah, then I'd be like DE4. What was it again? And that's when, now I think back and I think, now that I'm nearly 40 and you start to get a different look on your life, don't you? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was that.
And you understand how you process things differently and how you need to do it that makes sense for you as well. Isn't the same as everyone else.
Yeah, and I get the whole, I think of a word and then you're like, right, say that word. And then it's like, whoa, what was the word again?
I get
and
that
then you're like,
sometimes.
oh my God, which is what I did with the detriment. And I'm then like, and then sometimes I think to myself, you have this thinking thing, you have this auditory processing thing. I was like, why did you start a podcast, Richard? That's all words.
That's why I write scripts for that reason. Because if my brain goes off, I'm like, oh my God, I've waffled. And then I freeze because I feel like I've waffled. And then the thing I'm about to say gets worse. Whereas if I'm in a script, I'll write it, I'll read it once, and then I'll podcast record it. Otherwise, it's like, my brain is just a tiring place to be sometimes. So I much prefer to just write it down, read it.
I think it suits the style of work that we do, which it can be quite reactive sometimes. And so I think it suits that, but at the same time, I mean, I couldn't read a script now. And I said this in one of my shows, because I'd be like this. I'd be like, what did you want to be when you are at school? When you were at school, and it would literally be like that. I'd even correct myself as I was going, and so I can't do it. I can't do script, but you shove me in front of someone and go, "There you go," and I'm going to get a few words mixed up.
Yeah, but we all that's human, right? Like we sort of feel like it's awkward, but it's just normal and human. No one is sort of perfect talking to somebody for an hour straight. I don't think that's not normal.
No one would notice either. The other thing I was going to add is that I also am an introvert. So, when you're talking to someone for an hour, it's like, why are you doing that again, Richard? So I don't know why I started the podcast, but here we are.
I know.
What are we, 18 episodes later, 19 episodes, and you're on, 63? So I think we're doing all right. pat on the back to us.
Well, also, it's hosting is different. I find that like I get really nervous before I have guests because it's on me to pull it through. Do you know what I mean? And then I feel like I need to lie down for 2 hours in a dark room afterwards because my brain's just been like, be exciting, be engaging, ask the right questions, but listen to what they're saying as well. And you're just like, oh my gosh, it's tired, it's exhausting. It's not normal for introverts.
The nodding and the eyebrows and the like. That's what I was saying. I was saying about people not noticing. So like people won't notice that I say as like a filler word for you count your nose in an episode.
When you edit, you notice you do that, but no one cares. I notice when my guests do it when I edit them as well, and I'm like, oh look, I said it again. A lot of people say a lot. Like my last guest did that, and I was like, but I can't crop them out because then the sentence becomes jumpy. So I just leave them in. I'm like, it's how it's normal.
I've done it where I'll sometimes hit it when I'm speaking, but my partner, she listens to these once I've done them to make sure I haven't said something really awful or controversial. Not intentionally, I might add. Just so just as you say something and then you're like, oh, was that right? That's not right. But so she'll listen to them, and I'll be like in the kitchen making a cup of tea or something, and then all I can hear is my own voice going, and I'm like, oh my god, stop saying
I don't think I could have my partner listen out loud to my show. It's like awkward enough when he's the most supportive man ever, and he'll watch my Instagram stories on his phone, and I will hear my voice coming out of his phone and run to the other room. I don't like it. It's cute, but I'm like, oh, he's watching me, and I can't record stories in front of him for love nor money. Can't do it. Cannot.
I can't record stories in front of anyone. I grab my phone out and I look at it, and then I'm like, yeah, can I help you?
People do it walking down the road. How? I can't.
I know.
I'm like, the lighting's cute. It's a sunny day. No, I can't do it.
I think the thing is that at home it's obviously different because your partner's going to be like, what are you doing? But when you're walking down the street, I think people are so busy, engaged with their own lives and, thinking about, oh, someone's not looking at me on my phone, that actually that they're not thinking about you on your phone.
But do you know what? No offence. There's a male-female thing I've noticed. Men go phones down here, like lower than their chin. They don't care. Women do this. It's high up. And so you're walking down the street and you look ridiculous. Like, bravo. Do you know what? And the thing is, I don't judge people. I'm like, bravo to have the balls and the confidence to do that.
I do a bit of social media. This is my last story before I let you go off and sort the dog out. But I do a little bit of social media for one of the local hotels. And I've got an Insta360 camera.
Oh, they're really good.
So I recently went down to Weymouth's got a clock that's fairly famous. So I went down to this clock, Jubilee clock. And I kind of walked in a semicircle around it with my Insta360 camera. And then when I got home on the footage, I set the focal point as the clock. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of goes around, and then you set it on like motion and you increase the speed, and it kind of, and then it goes back. And And so I was like, that's fantastic. Looks really good. But while I was doing it, and you have to put the camera up higher than your head, so you have to grab the invisible selfie stick and up it goes, and so it's just above your head, and you have to kind of turn it as you're going, and then you have to do the old steady walk, and I'm walking around and like all the old people and other people available at all good outlets, everyone that was sat round this clock's just like staring at me like
because you look like you're marching around
and I am like like this with my little selfie stick, walking around like, please don't look at me, please don't look at me.
I really genuinely admire content creators because it's you have to have no shame. It's the whole thing. I have a friend, so you'll see if you scroll far enough down my Instagram, I was doing a mastermind with my friend Abby, and when we were in Valencia together, where she lived at the time, she would just be like, right, no, if you 0.5 out, turn it on the back camera and have it above your head and just walk beside me like this, and I'm like I was immediately like, oh god, your face, you just turn into a little turtle, you're like,
your shoulders come up and your neck drops and you walk like that.
She's just marching along like this, everyone's looking, I'm like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah,
I'm grateful she got great footage, but I would never have done that myself.
No, I think we watched That Perfect Couple at the weekend on Netflix.
Oh yeah, I've
And,
seen it.
and there was a character in that was you walking around the island making her stories for for her content creation, and it's like that all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it'll become the new normal, and then we'll all be doing it, and no one will notice each other because
terrifying.
you're too busy looking at your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
This is a
It's
pleasure.
been lovely
Thank
talking.
you.
Yeah, it's lovely talking to you, Mel. And I shall let you know about when this is going out. Do send me a photo. Now,
Yes.
just before you go, well, thank you once again, because we're still recording. But just before you go, I'm going to stop record, and then you've got Riverside,
close
so
the
you know
window,
that
yeah.
we need the upload. Okay, cool. Hang on, where's the mouse? Mousey.